I grew up in this little town called Ponca City, Oklahoma. And about 20 miles away was another little town called Blackwell. Years ago, back at the turn of the 20th century, they had a sign that said, "Don't let the sun set on you here." They used the N-word, and it was on a sign for the town. This was not a suggestion, it was a threat. People in that town were still bragging about their lack of black residents in the early 2000s. One man, reportedly from a museum, said, "Well, yeah, there's still no black folks here, thank God, but the Mexicans have found us." My town, Ponca City, didn't have a sign. It didn't need one. They used far subtler tactics. There were no black families in our neighborhood. Not in our schools, not at our store, not at our church. I don't remember meeting a single black person until I was 13 or 14 years old and we moved to New Orleans. I grew up during the civil rights era and we heard all the right things. We're all equal, judge people by the content of their character. And so I was absorbing these messages, but I never saw anyone treated equally because there were no black people there to treat equally. And that was not by accident. Some towns had signs. Others used sirens, actual alarms that went off at sunset to warn black people to leave. Some had police checkpoints, and they would stop drivers that didn't belong. Even towns without signs had rules, quiet rules. Ponca City kept itself white with silence. If you weren't white, you couldn't buy a house there. You couldn't get a job. You would never belong. Sure, there might be violence after sundown. We just didn't have a sign that announced it. There was just an absence and a culture that told white kids like me that the absence was normal. They just didn't want to live here. Gee, I wonder why not. But it wasn't normal. It was strategic, and it was white supremacy. We just couldn't see it because they weren't allowed to be there. I'm not an expert, I'm just an avid learner, and you can be one too. Join me. Get curious.